Hello there. Sadiq Khan has vowed to press ahead with his ULEZ expansion and has come up with a cunning plot to defeat his opponents. When Sadiq Khan started sighting his hated ULEZ cameras around the soon-to-be expanded ultra-low emission zone, a small group of ne'er-do-wells did something I could never condone. They started criminally damaging or removing those cameras, with more than 200 already having been attacked and 2 people charged for it. Despite Transport for London trying to keep the camera placement secret, it appears that the info was somehow leaked, however. But this has not deterred Khan. He's not going to stop his pet project, because he has a cunning plan. He is procuring a fleet of camera vans that can pop up anywhere at any time in London and take a snap of the offending motorists, just like speed traps. And these vans will of course be much harder for the criminally minded to locate, let alone vandalise. Now I'm assuming these vehicles will be used to cover areas where the cameras are temporarily down due to maintenance, faults or vandalism, and where there is no fixed coverage as of yet. As trying to cover the entirety of London in this way, just with vans, would I think be very impractical. But according to the Mail, Khan expects to roll out yet another 1,750 cameras before the ULEZ expansion goes live next month on the 29th of August. So despite the worries of his fellow Labour politicians like the leader Keir Starmer and the deputy leader Angela Rayner after they were pipped at the post by the Tories in the Uxbridge and South Ruislip by-election, the London mayor is still pressing ahead with the ULEZ expansion anyway. And I'm wondering if Starmer and Rayner have had a quiet chat with Sadiq Khan and said privately to press ahead. Now a judgment is expected soon on a case brought by 5 Tory-led councils arguing that Sadiq Khan acted unlawfully in expanding the ULEZ. And that now looks like the only way to stop it being imposed next month. Bar central government intervention, of course. But that is very, very unlikely because the Tory government is in favour of it, whatever they say about it. All that money raised by the new charge will be just as handy for the Tories if their candidate, Susan Hall, wins the mayoral election next May. Now, to be fair, Hall has declared that she will end the ULEZ expansion on day one if she wins. And she does have a record of opposing the ULEZ expansion. But I'm sure her new officials would be straight into her City Hall office, showing her the boost in tax revenue that the cameras are providing on day one, as well as lots of clean air data, etc. And the pushback from the Green lobby would be immense. And she'll probably be told that she needs all that extra money to fight the rising tide of violent crime in London. Not only that, the Tory party is infested with net zero supporters anyway. That's why we have so many net zero plans. So I'm wondering if a new inquiry will be set up instead to look into scrapping the ULEZ expansion later, and not an immediate cessation. No expense is being spared in the relentless persecution of the motorist. And when all those cars in London are either scrapped or compliant, the ULEZ cameras will instantly become pay-per-mile cameras. So electric vehicle owners will suddenly be the new target for the war on individual car ownership. And I'm wondering how long it will be before drones are used to track vehicle usage. I bet that's already in the pipeline. And how long before banks are looking at account holders who obviously are not net zero enough to hold accounts with them because of all the ULEZ charges and fines that some people will end up paying? How long before we see those account holders being left bankless, a la Nigel Farage, all getting the poorest out of their cars and onto public transport? And you have to wonder if this is why the likes of Labour, the Lib Dems and Greens are very quiet about this Farage banking debacle. But at least Nigel's had an apology from the BBC CEO Deborah Turnis and the BBC reporter Simon Jack. But the bank in question seems to be slower at apologising than the BBC is. Now yesterday, the Levelling Up Housing and Communities Secretary Michael Gove told us that the government will be intensively concentrating new house building projects in our cities. We will be unequivocally, unapologetically and intensively concentrating our biggest efforts in the hearts of our cities, Gove said. And this has caused a backlash from his own MPs. And one of these is the MP for South Cambridgeshire, Anthony Brown. The government wants to build a new urban quarter in Cambridge, but Anthony Brown said it couldn't be done because the city had literally run out of water supply. With the BBC recently reporting that fears supplying water to thousands of new homes will pose a significant risk have led to the first planning objections from the Environment Agency. And this is related to Cambridge, which could see more than 50,000 new homes by 2041. Some may now be built more slowly, continues the report. With the Environment Agency saying water is a precious resource that is under pressure across the country, and also that taking more from natural sources is posing a real risk to chalk streams, river and wetland habitats. Now, Cambridge Water says it has resilient long-term plans to address this, and part of that strategy is to reduce demand for water. Fast rising population, fast rising housing demand, fast rising water demand. And it looks like we'll be expected to use less water in future. Maybe by increasing the cost of the stuff to encourage you to use less. Or in future even metering your water as part of your social or carbon credit score perhaps. And Cambridge Water said it was looking at new sources of water supply. Wonder where that would come from. Do we need a new reservoir somewhere? But that would take a decade plus to plan, build and commission. And you also have to bear in mind all those extra houses will need extra electricity too. With DataCenterDynamics.com reporting last year that the Greater London Authority has told developers that new housing projects in West London could be banned until 2035. Because data centres have taken all the electricity capacity. And with the way we're going, this can only get worse. Increasing the population, increasing the housing supply, while shutting down gas and internal combustion engined cars, while not putting the real electrical infrastructure and supply in place to cater for it all. The Tories, Labour, Lib Dems, Greens and the SNP are all hell-bent on taking us down this path. At this rate, we're going to end up with water and electricity rationing. No wonder these 15-minute and low-traffic neighbourhood plans exist. They need to shut us down before we, the majority of people, find out what's being done to us.